Hello guys, my name is Laika F. Dibilia and my report for today is all about Karl Marx. So let's start with the questions. Who is Karl Marx? Let's go.
Without you, friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
According to Paul Kingor, professor of political science at Grove City College, ideas has consequences, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and sometimes catastrophic, like the ideas of Karl Marx. Karl Marx, born in Trier, Germany in 1818, Marx didn't invent communism, but it was on his idea that Lenin and Stalin built the Soviet Union, Mao built Communist China, and innumerable other tenants. From the Kims in North Korea to the Castros in Cuba, built their communist regimes. Ultimately, these regimes movement calling themselves Marxists murdered about 100 million people and enslaved more than a billion. Marx believed that workers, specifically those who did manual labor, were exploited by capitalists, the people who owned, as Marx put it, the means of production, specifically the factories, but who did little physical labor themselves. Only a workers' revolutions, Marx wrote in Das Kapital, correct this injustice. What would the revolution look like? Marx and his collaborator, Heinrich Engels, spelled it out point by point in a Communist Manifesto, and it includes the abolition of property and inheritance and the centralization of credit, communication, and transportation in the hands of the state, and a lot more along the same lines. In other words, the state owns and controls pretty much everything. This notation was widely discussed and debated in European intellectual circles during the Marx lifetime. But nothing much came of it until Vladimir Lenin took power in Russia. This changed everything. Despite its repeated economic failures, Lenin's Russia, which became known as the Soviet Union, became the model for dictators around the world. Wherever Marx's ideas were practiced, life got worse, not by a little but by a lot. There is not a single expectation to this rule. Not the Soviet Union, not Eastern Europe, not China, not North Korea, not Vietnam, not Cuba, not Venezuela, not Bolivia, and not Zimbabwe. Wherever Marx goes, economic collapse, terror, and famine follow. So if cataclysmic failure, meaning terrible human suffering, is the inevitable legacy of Marxism. So why do many people, specifically young people, defend this? So the most common answer is Marxism advocates over is that they, whoever they are, Lenin, Stalin, Chavez, never really practiced Marxism. They all somehow get it wrong. Marxism, we are told, is at the essence about sharing what we have, from each according to his ability, from each according to his needs, as Marx put it. Maybe that sounds good to you, but what does it mean? Who determines ability? Who determines needs? The answer is the state. The ruling elite. Under Marxism, that who has all the power, that's why the truth is this. Marx dictators like Lenin, Mao, and Pol Pot really did get Marxism right. They wanted absolute power, and Marxism gives them the way to get it. Karl Marx never had to face the consequences of his choice. He lived most of his adult life breathing the free air of London, England, living off his generosity of his collaborator, Patron English, who, as it happens, inherited his money from merchant father. Marx spent his days in the reading room of the British Museum, researching and writing. Although he was obsessed with the term scientific, he was never able to marshal the data to prove his theories. Why? Because there's a good reason for this. There was no data to prove his theories. For all of this time in the library, Marx couldn't find any evidence to suggest the capitalism, the free exchange of goods and service through private-owned business was passing pace throughout the industrial age. Working conditions constantly improved and wealth expanded. Marx had to rely on the outdated reports to make his case, and even then, he had to manipulate the data to get it conform to his predetermined theories. Marx really had no interest in proving his theories. He knew that they could put into practice only by brute force. He said so himself. Of course, in the beginning, communism can be affected except by means of despotic inroads. He wrote, his ends to be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. All existing social conditions, that's religion, family, personal, profession, freedom, and democracy. They all had to go in order to achieve Marx's vision of an earthly paradise. But since few people give up their liberties and property voluntarily, creating a Marxist state has always required guns, prisons, and summary executions. Marx's many disciples from Lenin on over-consider this a problem. I don't need proof to execute man. I only need proof that it's necessary to execute him. That was Che Guevara said in a boastful way. If you're still a fan of Marxism, after all the death, suffering, and destruction it caused, that's your right. But own up to it. Don't hide behind the line, it's never really tried. So I just want to say that, like Paul Kingor said, don't hide behind the lines. It's never really happened. Okay? Don't wait to happen, but prevent it. Okay? So that's all of my report. I hope you understand and may nakuha kayong lessons na about kay Karl Marx. So that's all. Thank you and God bless.